So today is 23rd October 2020. Let's start the today's topic. So one will be object-oriented concept in JavaScript. Today we'll start with the closures. Second is we will do problems. I'll go Anagram. Third is we'll start with the React. In the React, we are doing a lot of projects, and I will divide each project into small projects. So the first project which we are doing, we started with the login, logout, and register functionality, and this project will only be having this part, login, logout, and register, and the home page. And the task also includes on the home page, we should not allow unlogged in user. So everyone who goes to the home page, they should be redirected to the login page, and once they log in, they will be redirected to the home page. So this is the task for this project. So project 1 which we are doing is this one. It will be only having login, logout, register, and home page will be secured, private. So only who are logged in will be able to access the home page. So this is the task for the React project. So I will divide all the project into small project so that each project does some kind of task. And when you do very bigger project, you can gather information from project 1, 2, or 3, whichever is suited to your project, and include that in your project. So that is the one. So let's start with the closures. So we have to start with the closures. So to understand the closures, we need to revise few topics again in this closure chapter. So one of the topics we will do is the scope chain. So what is the scope chain? So the scope chain is in JavaScript. In JavaScript, we have function scope. That is a variable defined in a function is not visible outside the function, but a variable defined in a function can be accessed in the inner functions, which are created inside the parent function. So when I have a function, I have another function inside a function. So variable defined in a parent function can be accessed in the child function. And there is a global space that is outside the function, and variable defined in global space can be accessed in all the internal functions. So that is called the scope chain. So you go a function, write a function inside a function, then another function inside the parent function, and you can access all the variables from the parent to final function. So let's take an example. If I have variable a equal to 1, since I am putting in the space, it is in the global space and it can be accessed by any function. Then if I write a function f, and here inside the function f, I created another variable b equal to 1, and I return a. So though I created b equal to 1, I'm returning a. A is nothing but defined in the global space. Now if I do f, I will get 1 because it is returning a. If I say b, since b is defined inside the function, so b is not visible here. So here it will come error, b is not defined, and this will return 1. So this is the scope thing. I define the variable in the global space. I can access it inside the function, but I define a variable inside a function. I cannot access it in the global space. So if you define a function n inside function f, n will have access to variables in its scope, that is, all the variables created inside the n can be visible in the n, plus the scope of its parents. Parents means f. So any variable defined in f can be accessed in n also. So variable defined in the global space and variable defined in the f can be accessed inside the inside the function n, because n is the child of all. If I write an example, I have variable a equal to 1. I created function f. I say variable b. 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So I'm writing an example of scope chain equal to 1, and then I write another function n. Here I write a variable c equal to 3. So inside function f, I cannot access variable c, but inside function n, I can access variable c, b, and a, because n can access variable b, a, and also the variable created inside the n. So this is called the scope chain, that wherever variable is created, its child function can access that variable. But if variable created outside the function not in the scope, it cannot be accessed by the parent or another function. So for example, f cannot access the variable c. That means here I cannot say alert c, because c is not defined in the f. So this is called the scope chain. Now we'll go to the lexical scope. What is lexical scope means? In JavaScript, functions have lexical scope. This means that functions create their environment or called as scope when they are defined. So this word is very important, when they are defined, and not when they are executed. So whole thing is based on where they are defined, when they are created, not when they are invoked. I will show you one example. So if I have a function, let's go. Okay, if I have function f1 and it has the variable a equal to 1, and if I call f2 function here, and let's create a f2 function, and inside the f2 function I will return a. Okay, now when I call f1, f1, I have f1 function here and f2 function here, and f1 is calling function f2 and a is defined in the f1. When I call f1 function, what will be the output? What will be the or if I can say here alert a also, what will be the a here? Can anybody tell me? 1. Anand is saying 1. Piyush is saying undefined. So the thing is here, f1 has created var a. So logically people will think, since a is created here, so f2 can access a equal to 1 because we create a variable a inside f1, but we are calling f2 and we are calling a inside f2. But here you have to understand that there is a lexical scope. That means functions create the scope when they are defined, and at the time of definition of f2, a is not there. A is not there in the global space, and this f2 is created in the global space. So alert a will give me error because a is not there. Though f2 is executed inside the f1, but creation time when we write this function, that is called creation time. And during the creation time, f2 is in the global space, not in the f1 space. Since f2 is in the global space, so f2 cannot access variable a because a is created inside the function f1. Therefore, here this will give undefined. A is not defined. Let's check it in the browser. So I created new tab. So I created the function f, and then I will create the function f2, and then I will call f1. So see what it is happening. I am getting reference error. A is not defined. Though A is created here and we are executing F2, but F2 is created in the global space. So whenever we take alert A should come from the global space, not from the function F. F2 cannot access variable A because A is not created in the global space and F2 is created in the global space. Okay, so let's try to understand this thing a little better. If I would have created F2 here, if this function would have been inside here, that means this function is created at the creation time, it is inside the F1. So in this case, we can see A equal to 1. Why? Because F2 is created in the space of F1. So F2 can access A. But in the previous case, like this, F2 is created in which space? Global space. And what is the lexical scope? Functions have lexical scope. This means that functions create their environment or scope when they are defined. So definition is here, not here. And not when they are executed. Here it is only the execution. Okay, so F2 is in global space. It can only take the variable in its own space or in the global space. Though it is executed here, it doesn't matter. So execution doesn't matter. Do not go on execution. Go always on the creation of the scope, creation of the function. Now, if I create a variable in the global space, A equal to 12. So A became 12 in the global space. Now, if I call F1, what will be the alert one? Now, if I say F1, what will be the alert value? 12. It's correct. Okay. Why it is 12? Because A is now created in the global space, though it is created after F2 is defined. Therefore, F2 can now access any variable in the global space, though it is created before or after its creation. And now F2 can access A because A is in the global space. If I delete it again, if I delete A, then if I call F1, it will again give me error because it will try to find A in the global space. Since we deleted A in the global space, so we are not able to see the variable A inside the F1, that is inside the F2. Now, one person has said that var have global access. Var does not have global access. Var has global access if it is created in the global space. And now since this var is created inside the F1, it does not have the global space. It is inside this F1. If I create a variable without var, then it became the global space. This is the global space. Okay, so this is something about lexical scope, and let's go further about scope and see what are the closures means. Okay, we are done with this. Now I will write something. When a function is defined or created, it remembers its environment, its scope chain. This does not mean that the function also remembers every single variable that is in scope. So the function only remembers the scope where it is defined. It does not remember all the variable that whether, oh, what is the value of A, what is the value of B, what is the value of C. It does not remember every single variable. But when we are executing this function, it finds the variable and check if this variable is in its scope or not. If it is in the scope, then it will it will show that, and if it is not in the scope, then it will not show that. You can add a, delete a, update a, and whenever you execute this, it will take the latest value of the a which is there in that scope. So if I have a equal to 12, I delete a, then if I call F2 again, it will see, oh, in this scope, a is there? No, it is deleted. It's not there, so it will give error. But if I create the a, then if I execute F2, then it will see in the global space, if what is the value of a? Oh, is it 12? So I will alert 12. So it only remembers the scope. It does not remember all the variable value or all the variable, which are the variables in that scope. It does not take into consideration that. But when we execute it, at that time it checks what is the scope of this variable. If the scope is same as this or in its parent, then only it will call it. And it will only remember at the time of creation. F2 is created in the global space, so F2 does not have access of any of the variable of F1. Okay, so this is something we did about the lexical environment. Okay, let's go further now. Now, I will show one diagram and then we'll stop here and we'll continue closures tomorrow. So if you see this diagram, this whole circle is the global space, and in this global space we have function f and different variable a1, a2, a3, a4. Everything is in the global. Just remember, everything is in the global. Let's go to another example. Okay, one second. Okay, let me show you another picture. Okay, so this is another picture. Let me increase the size. So here we have the global space, and we have only one function here, and we have one variable here. So just remember this one, and when we go to third, I will tell you something more. So let's see the third image. So if you see this image, we have the global space G, this bigger circle is G, and then we have function f, this smaller circle is f, and we have a variable in the global space, and we have b variable inside the function f, and then we have another function n, this circle is function n, and we have the c variable inside n. Now, can global space access C? Answer is no, because C is created inside N and it can be accessed by N only. Can global space access B? No, because B is created inside F and cannot be accessed in the global space. Can global space access A? Yes, because A is created in the global space. Can function F access B? Yes, because B is created inside F, so F can access B. Can F access A? Yes, because A is the parent and F can access all the variables in the parent. Can F access C? No, because C is created inside the N and F cannot access something inside the N. but n can access a, b, and c because n is the inside of all the functions. Now, let's see the final example. Okay, this is the final image for today. Now, it is the same as we saw the third number. We have the global space, we have the function f, we have the b variable, we have the a variable. Now, if we somehow we pull this n function, n is inside the f, n can access b. Why? Because b, n's parent is f, and f has b variable, so n can access b. Here, if somehow we take this n function and pull it out of this f function in the global space, now n can access b because at the creation time it was in the f. So n can access b though n is in the global space. Though n is in the global space, n can access b because at the creation time n was inside the f and n was able to access b. And when we pull out n out of the f to the global space, then n can access a, n can access c, n can also access b. Though it is in the global space, it can access the internal variable called as b. This is called closure. That means when we can bring something inside from the function outside to the global space, and that function can access inside variables, so n is called the closure. So this process of pulling the function from another function into the global space is called closure. We will see more again all these images tomorrow, but I just gave you the idea what are the closure means. That means we are pulling something out of the function, though it is created inside it, then also it can access the b variable because it was created inside it. Otherwise, if I create an n function directly in the global space, this n function cannot access b because it is in the global space. But since in this case we create n function inside this function and then brought back this function to the global space, so n can access b also, a also, and c also, and this process is called the closure. So we'll see tomorrow more or few examples also. So this was only the general idea what the closure means. Okay, so that is all about the closures today. We'll go through closure more tomorrow. Let's complete our anagram problem which we started on that day. Let me clean this. So we saw in last lecture that if I have cat and another string as TAC, since both have same length and both have same number of characters CAT, here is CAT, though the order is different, that means these two are anagram. So we let's repeat what we did on that day. We took the string 1, that is cat, and we split it. Okay, split becomes, split, we have to split with empty space. So we get this kind of result, and after split, we sort it. So it becomes A, C, and T, and then we join it. So it becomes ACT. And we took another character also, and we did the same thing. TAC. It is also act and act. Both have same string, therefore these are anagram. Now we'll see another method of doing this anagram. I will create object, let's say object 1, equal to object. I'm doing manually now, and then I'll show you writing the program. So in this object, I have to use cat. I'll go later one by one. For example, C, and I will update object 1 of C equal to 1 time. That is, I found C 1 time. Then I'll go to second letter, that is A. Then I create object A, and how many count is there? 1. Then I'll go again, third letter T. How many count is there? 1. I create object with all this key value pair, and all have 1, 1, 1. Then I'll go to another. Then I'll go to another string, TAC. I'll go with first letter is T, so I'll create the T1. That is 1. Then I'll go to second letter, that is A. I'll create another. Here I create another object, object 2. So object 2 of A is 1. Let's go to third one. Object 2 of C is equal to 1. So I created one object this, and I create one object this. Then I have to compare each one with this one. So I'll take this object C and check if it is equal to this of C. Since both have value of 1, that means both have the same C character, same number of time. Then I'll go with the second character, A, and I'll check with the object 2A. Both have 1. That means both have A, same number of times. Then I'll go with the third, object T. And match with the object T here. This is also same number of time. Then I come out of the loop, and if everything is good, I'll return true, that it is anagram. And if we don't have this, any of this is not matching, that means it is not an anagram, and we say it is false. So this is the idea. We create the object 1 and object 2 and match each object with how many characters we have. So let's do how to do in a program. Okay, I'll write a function now. So I'll pass here the string 1 and the string 2. Now I will create. Okay, so I have to create this object with the characters. So we'll write the function. We did it yesterday, a few days back, how to build a character. So I gave you the idea how to build this one. You try yourself, and we will do this on Monday, because it will take some 10-20 minutes more to finish this, and I don't have time today to finish this. So you get the idea, you try it yourself, and we will do it on Monday, how to write the code. Let me write this idea so you can get the, I'll put it new file. So I'll put the idea, and I'll put the raw function. We'll finish this function on Monday. So if you got the idea, if you can try, then it is good. Otherwise, we'll see. Okay, let's go to the last part, the React one, which we started. Sorry. Okay, let's go to the React one. I close this. Okay, let me start the server. I'm doing it in the command line. I showed you the command line. And I'll start the pass server also. Let me go to terminal and start the pass server. Okay, till it starts, let's do some other stuff. So this is the home page which we built on that day, and this is the auth page we are building right now. And we saw that once user submit, I call the user equal to new pass.user, and I set the username, password, name, and email installation ID. Installation ID is optional, name is also optional. We just put it because we want it. And then once user sign up, we push call the prof.ht.push. That is nothing but we redirect user to the home page. So if you go with the real world, this process may take little time. Since I'm doing locally, it is going very fast, so you're not able to see the difference. But when the internet connection is slow, or when server is taking time to give the result back, user has to wait some time. Okay, I need to show the loading icon till the user is waiting. Okay, let me now get the loading part here. I'll call loading in my auth now so that I can show the loading icon till user is waiting for the response from the server. I'll import loading from utils loading. As I created this error one, let me create something of loading. Loading registered. And here I'll say set loading registered. Initially, I'll give the value of false. So when I submit this, initially I set this loading to true because I want loading icon to come, and when this whole process is done, then I will make loading equal to false, and also make error equal to null. I have E here already and E here. 2 times E will make a problem in my script. So let me change it to error. Okay. And even in this case, if I get the error, I want to stop the loading. So in any case, I want to stop the loading, even if it is success or if it is error. And if I have error, I will show the message, but here I will make the error null. So this is how we show the loading. We create the loading variable Now, if loading is there, that means if it is true, I want to show this loading icon. I'll go down, and where I have this error part, here I will also write, if loading is true, then show the loading. So this will show the loading till I get a response from the server. Let me see if pass server is started. We can. So pass server is started. Let's try now. Okay, I'm in the sign up page. I will write down some email and password, and I will click sign up. So watch what happened when I click sign up. You see loading icon, and then once it gets the data, it goes to this page. So this is how we implement the loading, so that we wait for something till it gets from the server, and then once we get the server, we stop the loading and we are redirecting here on this page. Okay, so this is done. Registration is done. Now we will go back to the login part. Okay, so for login, same thing we have to do. Only thing we have to change from reg to the log kind of thing. Let's do that. So here we have the registered values. I'll copy this and I'll use it as log values, that is login values. And it will have only email and password, no name. Since we have the error registered and loading registered, we will make similarly for the login. And here will be okay, so we got these two. Since how we are doing register changes, same thing we will do with login values. And I will set log values with either target name and value is fine. And I will use this change function in my login form. This is my login form. I'll give the name of email. I'll give the value of log values dot email, and I also give on change equal to handle log change. If you have done registered part, it will be very easy for you to understand what I am doing. I give the name, I give the value, I give the on change. Same thing here, name is equal to password, value equal to log values dot password, and on change will be the same, this one. Okay, so we did on change. When I click the sign in button, I'll give the type of submit. So this sign in will be of type submit, and here I'll remove the action and I'll create some function here. So previously I have the handle registered submit. I'll copy and make it little bit of same of handle login submit, log submit. This prevent default is fine. Set loading log. Now I need to change to login. I need to change the error log. This part will come back later. Let me first finish those things. I'll set the set loading log, set error log equal to null. And once user is logged in, I want to send him to the home page. And if it is error is there, I will make the loading off, and I'll change the error message to whatever error I'm getting it. Okay, here I will delete all this part, in between part. So for login, pass server has a special method called as pass.user.login, and it takes two things. One is the username and one is the password. So we have the username of log values.email and password of log values of password. And I call this one, and if user is logged in, if user is there in the database, it will give me success, otherwise it will give me the error, which will go here, and this error will be displayed to the user. So let's check here, let's tell this condition, and I'll call this handle log submit on the form submission. So here I have form action. I will remove action and say on submit equal to, I call this handle log submit. Okay, so that is the task for this one. Now let me run it. Okay. Let me go to auth again. We can also write here, if user is already logged in, then I don't show this page. I will redirect to the home page, but I'll do that later. So here I will put my email, which I use it. I will put wrong password first to see what is happening. If you see on the console.log, nothing is happening. Okay, I got the error, invalid username password. So since I put wrong password, I'm getting this error, but I'm not showing it here because I have not written the code for it. Let me write the code for it. I will copy this to part and I'll put here, and here it will be error log, login error, and loading of log. I put this error. Let me see now. I put the wrong password now. I will see invalid username and password. If I put right one, I am redirecting to the home page. So this is what we did of the login and logout, login and register. Let's do the logout part. I will create one component for the logout, and when user will click or on the load of the page, I will log him out and redirect back to the home page or this auth page, login page. Okay, let's do that one. I create a new component. I have logout component. Here it's saying logout. So just as soon as the page will load, I will call the logout script, and then I will log the user out and send him to the auth page again. Let me call the pass one again here in the logout. And till the page goes to another page for the few seconds, user will be able to see this page. I'll just put some message. I put just a message. You're successfully logged out of this website. And here in the use effect, React since I have to call the script on the page load or on the component load, I will use the use effect. Use effect is called one time or many times, depend on the props and whatever it is changed. I will write arrow function inside it. And here I will be getting props. This props is needed to get the history. And from the history, I can send the user back to the any other page. I will create a variable called as history. It will be nothing but props.history. And I will pass this history as a second parameter in the use effect so that I can access history inside this use effect. Here, I will log the user out and I will send the user back to the sign-in page. Since the logout is the asynchronous one, I need to call the await. And I cannot call the await directly inside the use effect. I cannot make this function as asynchronous. This is not allowed. So what I will do, I will create another function inside the use effect and I will make that function as asynchronous function, and then call the await there. So how to do that? I will create another function here called as constant process, and I will make this as, sorry, this one will go equal. This is a function, arrow function, and I will make this as asynchronous, and I'll call this process. Because I want the asynchronous one, that's the reason I created another function inside the use effect, because use effect cannot take the asynchronous. It is against the policy of the use effect. So I create asynchronous another function, and inside this function I will write down the await, and I will call the logout part. I will say pass.user.logout. This will log the user out, and once the user is out, I will call the history variable to push the user to another page called as auth. So once the user is logged out, I will send the user to auth page again so that he can log in again. This history is passed here because I am using history inside the use effect. Any variable which I use inside the use effect and which the variable which is coming from outside has to be passed in the parameter in this array. So whenever this use effect is load or whenever this component is load, this history variable goes inside the use effect and I can take use of this one. If I don't pass it, React will give warning that history has to be provided. All dependencies has to be provided. So we need to pass the history here. Now on the home page, I will give the link to logout. If I give a tag, the page will refresh and it will go to logout. I don't want the page to refresh. So for that, I want to use the link tag, and link tag has a 2 parameter, and I'll send the user to logout. It does same thing as hrefs does, but hrefs refreshes the page, whereas link does not refresh the page. It will do the single page redirection to the logout without reloading the page. And link has to be called from one of the package. So that package is React router down. Now we'll test the condition. So we'll sign in first. Let me put the right password. So I'm on the home page and I click the logout. So it goes for the fraction of a second on the logout page and it redirects me to here. And how to confirm that the user is successfully logged out? We will go to the application and in the local storage you will see that I don't have the current user detail. If I log in, you will see what I'm getting here. So if I'm getting the current user here, and it will give me who is the current user. But as soon as I logged out, this variable is deleted and I don't see it here. So this is how we do the login, logout, and register part. Now, next task is on the home page. If user is not logged in and user goes to the home page, I should redirect user to, okay, some error is coming. Let's see what is the error coming. Okay, user is not defined and I'm getting this error. So let's fix this error and then we will do that one. So we are calling user, but user is not defined. Since user is only defined when user is logged in. Okay, so here I can say if user, and that means if user is there, then only call this one. Otherwise, don't call it. Now, let me open the page. I can go to the home page, but it gives me all other things because I assume that user was logged in. So I created the logout one and I gave this one. So I don't want any other user to go to this home page if he's not logged in. So that is the next task I will be doing. That will be in the project one only. So project one will have only login, logout, and register and the home page. And home page should be accessible only to the logged in user and not for the unlogged in user. If anyone was there in my lecture previously, we created the route, private route, and that is what we are going to do here. So I created route with lout and route this one, and I will take use of this to create my private route. Let's go to the route with layout part. If you have not attended that lecture where I explained how to create the private route, I will be doing it here. Just pay attention here. So here I will call first few import statement and I will tell you what is the importance of each one. I call the route and redirect. So redirect will be where should I redirect user to if this he is not logged in. Route will give me the different routing. As we define a routing, same thing I'll define routing here. I will call this from React router DOM. I'll also call import parse from parse so that I can see who is the logged in user and who is not the logged in user. So I use the parse. Here I'll be getting props. Okay, give me 1 minute. I'll continue in 1 minute. Okay, so let's continue. So here I'll do the destructurization of props. Here I'll tell which layout I want to call. I will name it as layout. This layout will come from the props, and I'll rename it to capital layout. I'll also get component, which component to call, and I'll get this component from the props and rename it to capital component because small letter component is not allowed. And all the parameters which comes in the props are put in the spread operator, that is the variable called the rest. I'll also create another variable called a user, where I will say who is the current user. To get the current user, we have the statement pass.user.current. This is synchronous call, so we'll get immediately the user. And inside the return statement, I'll start with the route. And this route is nothing but this route. Here I have to pass the parameters. First parameter which I want to pass is all the rest one. This rest one I will pass. To pass rest one, I have to use the curly bracket. That means whatever is coming in the props from the previous page will be appearing here. Next statement which I want to pass in the route is the render one. Render one takes the arrow function. So here I get in the render function, I get match props. Some props are coming with the name I called match props. I could have written X, Y, Z, whatever I want. And inside the render function, I have to return something. Since it is arrow function, it expects something to be returned. And I will say if user is present, that means if I have user, I will return something, some component or something I will return. And if I don't have user, I will redirect user to some place. So this is also will come inside the return one. So in the first one, in the second one is simple. Let's put the second one. I will call this redirect part. It's a tag, and in the redirect part, I will just tell where to send the user to. I want him to send to Auth Page. Okay, so redirect will send the user to Auth Page. If user is not there, I will send the user to Auth Page. There is another way to write the to statement, which I showed in the previous one, and I'll show you some other time also, maybe today or tomorrow, how to write another way inside the to statement. But right now, for now, I'm just redirecting it to Auth Page if user is not logged in. If user is logged in, I want to render the component which I want to display to the user. So one is the layout. I have to display the layout. That is the header and footer part comes in the layout. So I will put the layout, and in the layout, I have this layout, and inside the layout, I will call the component. So which component user want to access? Whether you want to access about page, whether user want to access home page, whatever the name of the component will be there will come as a props, and I will call that component here. This component will get all these matching props. I can pass this matching props here. I can also pass the user information by saying user equal to this user. So this component will get user information also and props also, whatever props are there. Now what is inside this props? Inside this props is nothing but what we see, history, location, and all other props which comes in any page will be there. I can pass all this variable information inside the layout also if I want to use them in the layout. If I don't want to use them in the layout, I can remove it. It depends on if I want it or not want it. Right now I pass it, but it's up to me whether I want to use this information in the layout component. And this layout can be different. You can write 3-4 layout in your project, and on few pages you call layout 1 and few pages you call layout 2, and all will become through props. So this page will not change. This is the default page. Layout is dynamic, which comes from this props. So even though you have layout 1, 2, 3 on your application, this page will remain same, and this layout will dynamically come from the props, from different page. Okay, so this being done. I'm done with this route with layout. This is one time effort which I did, and when we create project 2, project 3, project 4, project 5, I will not change this route with layout, and it will remain same for all my projects except this part. Right now I'm just putting this one. I may change the 2 path, but otherwise everything will remain same. I will not change this component. Now we have to pass layout in this one and component from somewhere, and we have to create one layout also. So let's create one layout which I will be using in this project 1. I've already created a structure project 1 layout. Let us just finish this, give some touching step to this one. Let's finish this so that I can finish the project 1 today, and from tomorrow we can start with, from Monday we can start with project 2. So this is something will have some header and footer. I don't need to put a lot of stuff in this. I'll just put few things and then we are done. Like I could have created the CSS for my project. I can say project1.css. I could include this CSS file inside this layout. Okay. I could have the navigation also in the top. Right now I don't have navigation, so I don't put. Otherwise, when we build, we have some navigation here. Right now I'm putting h1 tag. I'm giving some heading project 00001, and I will put some HR tag, and then here the footer will come. So I'll say footer will appear here. So this is my kind of layout or structure where top and bottom will be defined. And inside this, I have to call the main file. For example, I'm calling home page. I should call home page here. So that will be coming dynamic. And to get the dynamic one, I will call here as a props. And I will say, here I will say props.children. So for home page, I will pass the home page inside as a children. For some kind of this not found, I will pass this props.children as the not found. Okay, so I'll close this one. This one is done. I put some heading, header, h1 tag, and footer. That's it. And this is route with layout. I'll come back to this to explain one more thing after I'm done with the routing. Now I'll go to the routing. Here I'll do some changes to use those route kind of thing. No, not this one routing. Where is my routing? Okay. So here, you remember I commented these two lines of the code. I will uncomment these two lines of the code. Okay, 1 second. So I am uncommenting this route with layout, and there's a project one layout. I'm just going through all procedure. You have to follow the video again and again to see how the things are done. This is the first time you are doing this project, so you will feel little difficult to do it. And if you follow the steps which I am telling you, second time in the second project, I will explain whole thing again. And for second time, if you do, it will be very easy for you. And third, fourth time, it will be like cutting the piece of cake. Okay, so it's easy actually, but you need to see that we are doing some new stuff, so it will take time to do the stuff. It is easy, but it's little time consuming. So whenever I want to call this any of this route using this my private route with this layout, I will change that route only. So I don't want to change this auth path because auth route is for unlogged in people. So I don't want this to be changed. I don't want this is the one only I don't want to be changed. Rest all will come inside my route with layout. So how to create this route with layout? I will create this tag, and here I want to pass. What I want to pass? One is the layout. So I will pass layout equal to which layout I want to pass. Right now you will see I have only one layout, project one layout. So I will pass the project one layout. Which component I want to show? I'm doing this for home page, so I will pass a component also. So this component home is passed here, and this is also expecting this component. So from props I'm getting layout also, I'm getting component also. I'm passing layout also, I'm passing component also, and rest will be other thing. So rest will be path and exact. So this rest will be path and exact. When I create this route is similar to this route. So instead of writing route here directly, I'm calling route with layout, which will write the route. And it will take path and exact here. And instead of component, it is calling the render one. And inside the render, I'll check if user is logged in. I call the layout. What is this layout? This layout is nothing but the layout which I'm passing here. That is the project one layout. And project one layout is something where I have some few HTML code and I pass the children. And what is this children? Children is nothing but inside layout, whatever I put it here. This is the children. So whenever I pass inside this tag, that goes as a children in the layout, and in the layout I got the children, I render it here. So in the routes, I pass the layout which I want to show. I want to pass the component which I want to show, and I will pass the path and exact. Since I created route with layout for the home page, I don't need this part. I will delete this part. The same thing I'll create for where I want the private route where user is not logged in, I can use it. So for the logout also, user is logged in, so I can call for logout also. I don't need the logout part. Not found can be called by anyone. though user is logged in or not logged in. So I'll keep the route not found as a not with the layout. I will only create route with layout who is the logged in one. Otherwise, I will keep it as it is. So I'll save it. I will again explain in short a summary. This is something detail I am explaining what things are going on. Now we'll check the site. So initially I'll go to the home page. Since user is not logged in, therefore user is redirected to auth page. Once I click sign in, user will become logged in and he's going to the home page. Now you will see I have the header and footer, and this is what I put it in the home page. I see this in the home page. If I click log out, still we go to the layout page, and once user is logged out, user is redirected to this page. When I click sign in, I am again in the home page. If I go to something blah 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 blah, it goes to not found. Not found is not the one with layout. Okay, this is how we build the private routes. Let me go through it once because it is little complex, and for you it is first time, so you feel difficult initially. So we have the routes called routes file. In the routes, we always create different route like this route, but sometimes we have to create the private route or route with something header and footer. For that, I created this layout, and this layout I put some header and I put some footer, and I pass the children. So if it is home component, children will go as a home. If it is logout, children will go as a logout. So the whole component will go in this children part. It's not only the HTML part or some variable with some value. It is the whole component will go as a children. I also create a route with layout. That is, this will take care of if user is logged in or not. It accepts which layout I want to take. I want to take the layout which I want. Let's say I have 3-4 layout in my website. I can pass dynamically in this props different layout and I can access it. Then I check if user is logged in or not. I put the logged in user in the user variable. I created the route. I put all the race parameter like exact path here, and I render it. I render it based on the user is logged in. If user is logged in, I call the layout with this parameter. This is optional. I can remove it also. And I call the component which I want to call. So in case of home, I will be calling the component home. In case of logout, I will be calling component logout. And I pass all the variables here to that page. I can also redirect. If user is not logged in, I redirect it to auth page. That is what this layout with route with layout do. And in the routes page, I call the route with layout with the layout, which layout I want to call for this URL, which component I want to call for this URL, that is the logout. Same thing with the home. I want to call this layout and I want to call this component for this path. This is what we did in the routes one, and we have the home page here. We did not put any authentication on the email. User has put the email name or not, email or not, because this is something just we want to finish the sign up, but in the ultimate version we can add that also. When we will do the validation in second or third project or fourth project, I don't know when I'm doing validation, then I'll come back here and I'll put the validation here to make it complete. So that's about the project one.